station. This is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Ready for the event.
Jenks Public Schools, this is Mission Control, Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Superintendent Dr. Stacy Butterfield here with students. How do you hear me?
Hey, I hear you loud and clear. Good morning.
Good morning. We are proud to represent our school district and the great state of Oklahoma this morning. We look forward to learning more about your life experiences in space. And with me this morning on stage are our MCs. We have Director of Communications, Mr. Rob Labor, and we have Lieutenant Colonel Dwayne Digger Carey with us.
Good morning, Shane. How you doing?
Doing well. Great to talk to you.
Hey, you're looking good. You guys have been real busy this month, I heard. You've been on a couple spacewalks, and you're getting rid of a cargo module tomorrow. Good work.
Yeah, mixed in with all that you mentioned is a bunch of science and research we're doing as well. So it's been a great month up here, another great month, I should say. I go to 100-day mark tomorrow, so that'll be a nice little event to celebrate.
Very good. Glad to hear it. And we've got a real tough mission for you this morning. We got 20 people here with 20 questions, and we're going to try to get through that. And then we'll get on with our day, and you'll get on with yours. How's that sound for a plan?
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to hearing the questions.
Right. First question will be from Devontae.
Hello, my name is Devontae Wagner. What is your favorite thing to do in space that's different from down here?
Well, I think the number one thing is flying around. That's something obviously you can't do on Earth, but up here, that's how we get around. You have to fly. You can't walk around up here, so that's something really cool that we get to experience in the environment of microgravity.
Thank you.
Okay, Shane, next up we have Ashley. Ashley's got a question. Good morning, Ashley. Here's the camera.
Hi, my name is Ash. Do you think that spaceflight is something that will be accessible to the masses within our lifetime?
Well, I certainly hope so. It's such an incredible experience, and it's something that I wish I could bring my family up here, of course, for them to experience, and friends as well. So I do hope in your generation, when you get old like we are, that you'll be actually, this will be a commonplace thing. I'm not sure we're going to quite be there. We're going to be heading to Mars, as you probably know, here in the next few decades. That's going to be a really big push for our nation and a bunch of nations as we do this as an international partnership. But your generation also will be the ones that are going to be going to Mars for the first time as human beings. So that's pretty exciting.
Thank you.
Next question, Shane, is going to be from Colton.
Hi, my name is Colton. I understand you played baseball at West Point. My question is, how does the microgravity environment affect your ability to throw a curveball?
Well, that's a great question. Up here, if you throw anything, I actually don't have a baseball, but I do have a basketball, so I'm sure there's some Thunder fans in the house there. So I'll try to show the spin that I would use on a curveball. So you're looking for that 12-6 spin, right? Hopefully, if you throw a really nice one. All right, and as it gets to the batter, it's going to drop. Well, up here in space, it won't drop unless you push it down physically like that. Otherwise, it's just going to go in the same direction that I pushed it. So it's obviously a unique environment, and the ball is just going to travel that way forever until it hits something. And we don't have that luxury, I guess, on Earth. But a curveball breaks a lot better, and a slider breaks a lot better on the Earth because of gravity. That's what helps pull it down as it gets towards the batter.
Thank you, Shane.
Hey, Shane, that was a great answer, but I was wondering how you're going to handle that one. Next up, we got Gage.
Hi, my name is Gage. My question is, has moving in space been easier, harder, or different? And have you felt notable changes in your strength and how you move?
I haven't felt any difference in our strength, and that's really due to the exercise regimen that we're all on up here. We exercise about 2 hours a day, an hour of that being cardio on either a treadmill or a stationary bike. They're a little bit different, obviously, than the ones on Earth, but that's what we use for our cardio and getting our heart rate up. And then we have a weightlifting machine. Of course, nothing weighs anything up here, but it's a resistive machine that really is fantastic, and we can do bench press, shoulder press, curls, squats, anything that you can really pretty much do on Earth, you can do up here on that machine. So that keeps our muscle mass intact, which is great. It also keeps our bone density and bone mass intact, which is something that decays up here in space if you're not doing the exercise. All of us up here are feeling great. The exercise, I think, is really helping us, just our mood, our attitudes, and our bodies physically. So I haven't noticed any mental changes or physical changes.
Thank you.
Hey, Shane, before we get the next student up here, I got a quick, give me a 10-word answer. You've just been out the door for a couple of spacewalks. Did you feel like you're in pretty good shape when you're out there?
I did. It's very physically and mentally challenging, of course, outside. And when you get back in, you're just exhausted. But I felt like I was ready. Peggy and I went out the first time, and then Toma and I went out the second time. I was just lucky enough to go out both times. And we may have a few more coming up here in March, so we're kind of looking forward to those.
Awesome. Next question from Macy.
Hi, my name is Macy, and my question is, what did you do to prepare in the months before your mission?
Well, the last few months before a mission like this are actually spent in Russia, which is where we do a lot of our training. I would say maybe 40 to 50% of our training is done in Russia because we fly on a Russian spacecraft to get here to the space station. And we also return on a Russian spacecraft. So about 2 months prior to launching, we go to Star City, Russia, which is where the Russians have their training center for their cosmonauts, and we join them there. As we train as a crew in the last couple months, we have final exams in the simulators to make sure that we're qualified and ready to go. And then a couple weeks before launch, we actually head down to Kazakhstan, which is south of Russia. And that's where the Russians launch their rockets from with the crews on it. So we go down there for a couple weeks and we're in quarantine. That's just to get us away from the general public so that we don't get sick or take any illnesses with us up here to the space station.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, Jared with a question.
Hi, my name is Jared. Do you still feel the same way about the Earth after you've seen it from so far away? How has being an astronaut changed your perception of the world?
That's a really good question. We do have a unique perspective up here, of course, and one that when you look down at our planet, you don't see stress, you don't see conflict, you don't see wars going on, you don't see borders even. So it's a pretty unique perspective, and obviously if we could somehow get that peaceful, serene feeling that we see from up here to actually take place on Earth, I think the Earth would be a better place.
Thank you.
Next up, Jonathan has a question.
Hi, my name is Jonathan. What did you do in your everyday life to get where you are now, and how hard was it?
Well, ever since I was your age, I'm sure, in high school and middle school, I started working really hard. I studied very hard. I wasn't ever the smartest kid or the best athlete or anything like that, but I just worked really hard at whatever I was doing. That seemed to pay off for me as I went through college, played sports in college, and then as I went into the military, I went into the United States Army after graduating at West Point. And I just kept working really hard at whatever job I was given. Didn't matter what it was. I was lucky enough to fly Apache helicopters in the Army, worked with some incredible people, learned a lot about leadership and a lot about people through that experience. And it kind of led me eventually to coming to NASA and working as an astronaut. So I've been very blessed. I've always worked very hard and tried to instill that into certainly my children as well as any other folks that I come in contact with.
Thank you.
Next question, Connor.
Hi, I'm Connor, and I have two questions. What is the most difficult challenge that you faced in your life, and how did you overcome it?
Well, that's a good one and a very tough question. Challenges, as you go through life, you'll see you have challenges, I won't say all the time, but every few months or every year, you're going to have some major challenges. So I think the one that's kind of the most important or whatever is the one you're kind of going through currently. So I've been through a lot to get to kind of this point where I am with family and with friends and with just other situations in my life. The current one, which is kind of on my mind the most right now, is the challenge of being separated from my family for 6 months. It's not easy. A lot of, everybody does it that comes up here. Just something that is more difficult to some than others. And my family and I are working through it, but it's, I hate missing my kids' games and all their activities and things that they're doing as they're going through their life. But it's just something that we have to deal with. And I think it's a big challenge for the space station and expedition crews in general.
Thank you. And my second question is, what kind of experiments are you doing in space?
We have a lot going on. I think we're doing about 200 total over the 6 months that I'm up here as a crew. So we've got a lot going on. We have fluid shifts experiments going on some of the astronauts and cosmonauts, which is a pretty neat thing. When you come up to space, the fluid in your body actually shifts up towards your head. And it kind of puffs your face out, at least initially when you get up here. So we're trying to study why that happens. We also are doing some capillary flow experiments. We're doing some combustion experiments, which we're going to start next week in this rack to my right here. That's going to be exciting. And I even got to grow some lettuce up here in space, so I kind of felt like Matt Damon on The Martian, growing things away from Earth. But the lettuce came out beautifully, and we got to actually eat it up here a few weeks ago.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tyler. If the Mars trip is successful, what do you believe is in store for the future of NASA?
Well, that's a few decades away, sending people to Mars, I think. But it's going to be fantastic. I mean, it's a very tough problem to solve, to get a human there because of the systems that are involved. And we're testing a lot of those systems out now here on the space station where it's not so far away from Earth. So, when we make that next spacecraft to go to Mars, all these systems are going to have, and the technology we develop over the lifetime of the space station here are going to come into play as we help develop that vehicle so that the humans can stay alive and stay healthy, can get to Mars, do their mission, and return safely back to Earth.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Noah, and obviously you guys undergo years of training, and I was wondering, was there anything in particular that training really couldn't prepare you for?
We do get trained quite a bit. It was about a 2.5 year training program just for this launch and this mission specifically, but even before that I trained probably 10 years as an astronaut, so a lot of training. What you can't prepare for at all is the environment of microgravity and trying to do a task or trying to change something out while you're floating and while everything around you is floating. So we can train, and be book smart, so to speak, on the ground, but until you get up here and actually do some activities and figure things out in this microgravity environment, you'll never really understand it completely.
Thank you.
Okay, Shane, I'm the next Capcom, so I can say this. We're doing good, bud. We got 7 minutes and 9 questions left. You're doing really good.
All right, Digger, we'll get through them.
Hi, my name is Jackson. What is your favorite thing to do in space?
My favorite thing up here is got to be looking out the window. We have a module called the cupola, which is full of windows, and it points directly at Earth all the time. So I think most astronauts just enjoy hanging out on there and looking at our beautiful planet.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lizzie. With the increasing ability of robots such as NASA's Robonaut, why do you think manned spaceflight is still a crucial part of space exploration and discovery?
Great question. I think really if we work together, it's kind of the optimal situation. We do have robots. Robonaut that you mentioned, I'm actually going to work on that next week. Robonaut's not feeling too well right now. He's a little bit sick, so we're going to try to fix him next week and get him back working again. But if we do have robots that do some tasks the human brings a lot to the table that a robot or robonaut can't bring, and that's the critical thinking. If you come to a situation and things aren't going exactly as planned, or they're going really wrong, I think you need a human there to solve the problem. Think about what's going on, take all the factors involved in the situation, and help solve that problem.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carla, and I have 2 questions today. What is your favorite type of space food?
My favorite type of space food is probably chicken strips and salsa. Things come in pouches. Most of our food comes in pouches like this, and this happens to be chicken strips and salsa. But we have everything from beef to turkey to crawfish to we have a pretty wide variety of things that come in those pouches.
And what duties do you perform on the International Space Station?
Can you repeat that? I missed the first part of the question.
What duties do you perform on the International Space Station?
So we're all kind of trained on a lot of different things. So we're all scientists some days, we're engineers some days, we're plumbers some days, we're electricians other days. Some of us have gotten the pleasure of going outside and doing spacewalks. Tomorrow, like Mr. Carey mentioned, we're going to be working with the robotic arm to release a Japanese cargo vehicle. So we kind of have to be trained and ready to do about everything up here. Great question.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cami, and my question is, if you could go back in time to any space expedition from any country, where would you go and why?
Wow, really good question. I think I would go back to the late 1960s, early 1970s, and be on one of the Apollo missions to go to the moon and walk on the moon.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jake, and I was wondering, how have the conditions of space affected you physically and mentally?
Well, I think we talked a little bit before about it, but physically, I think we're all doing great because of the exercise that we do. And mentally, we all keep an eye on each other to make sure we can kind of tell when people are getting tired or when they need a break. And that's just something that we're all kind of managing each other as a crew. So we're working great as a team. And so far, no mental or physical deficiencies that I've noticed.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex, and my question is, knowing that you will lose muscle mass in space, what adjustments are made to your diet?
Diet-wise, they put us on kind of a program to eat a certain number of calories a day. It's really hard to achieve that, but we're working hard at it. I never get really to the full amount, but I get probably 70 to 75% of the calories every day. And they're needed, especially with all the working out we're doing. And like you mentioned, you would lose muscle mass if you weren't working out all the time. So since we're doing all those, we're eating a lot and we're working out a lot, most of us haven't lost any muscle mass.
Thank you.
Hi, Commander. My name is Bailey Siegfried with NORDAM and Flight Night Space Week. I'm standing in for a Jenks student with his question. What kind of entertainment activities do you do in space?
We actually have quite a bit. We can get TV shows or movies, anything that we prefer or that are up. There's tons of movies and things already up here on our computers, which is nice. I'm a big sports fan, so I get a lot of games sent up to me. And that's been pretty nice, especially through the playoffs here in the NFL. And it'll soon be March Madness, so we'll be watching a bunch of that stuff as we kind of close out my mission.
Thank you.
Hey, Shane, awesome job. Before we turn you over to the MC here, question from Digger, and this is inside joke alert for the audience. I want to hear what comes after 5250, 4240.
Wow, you're taking me back there. I've already probably forgotten that part of my brain's already dropped that. So you'll have to finish that.
For the audience here, Shane had a big part to do in teaching astronauts how to land the space shuttle back before he went to station. Thanks, Shane. This has been great, bud, and you're doing a great job. You're making us proud.
Thanks, Tigger, and thanks to all the students. It was great being with you today. Have an awesome
Shane, if you can still hear us, we've got just a couple minutes left in our window here. Can you take the opportunity just to tell us a little bit more about the module that you're in?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a U.S. laboratory, and this is where we do a lot of our research and science here that I'm kind of showing on this side of the lab. We have racks all over. A cool thing about space is we can use the ceiling, the floor, as you would think of the floor, and all the walls the same. So I can have a drawer here. I can have drawers up here. We can use the complete volume, so that's pretty nice. And so you may be working upside down or right side up, and you really don't know because there's no up or down in space. But this is a great module. To my left here, you probably can't see it, but this is our stationary bike. It's on its own isolation system, so I equate it to riding a unicycle on a trampoline. It kind of bounces, and it's very hard to keep your balance, but once you get the hang of it, you get a great workout on that. Behind me is the robotic workstation. So what we're doing now is using the one behind me as a backup. In case the one in the cupola with all the windows fails tomorrow, then we'll come over here and finish the release of that Japanese vehicle right behind me here on the robotic workstation. And then our command post is kind of just beyond that, and that's kind of where we have all emergency books there, and we have a computer there, and when we're doing our daily conferences with the ground teams all around the world, that's where we kind of hang out to do those activities.
Thank you, Shane. Well, as we come to a close here today, just want to say that on behalf of our students, our staff members, and all of our administrators here at Jenks Public Schools, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with our students today. It's been an absolute pleasure and our honor.
Thank you.
Commander, thanks for all that you do to inspire the next generation of our space explorers right behind me. Thanks for everything that you've done for our country, our students, and inspiring. On behalf of Flight Night Space Week, NORDAM, and great Oklahoma space-loving state, thank you for all you do. Appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks. It's an honor to serve.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.